This is piping and filters. And here we'll look at redirection pipes for combining multiple commands, filtering output and variables and environment variables. So how do you redirect the output? How do you pass output from one command to another command? How do you combine multiple commands? How do you sort and filter output, and what are environment variables? And this is what we are going to look at now. So there is a command echo. It's a built-in command that allows you to display lines of text or string that are passed as arguments. It's often used in shell scripts and batch files to output status text to the screen or file, but you can also use it to see the content of an environment variable, or as a means to quickly send text from the command line to a file. So the syntax is echo, various options, and the string. You can use man echo to find the options. And string is the string you want to display or do something with. So let's test it. Let's try and make the screen say I am learning Linux. And you do that by simply saying echo I am learning Linux. And it says so. And we will use echo more in a little while. Redirection, I/O redirection. Usually standard input comes from the keyboard and standard output goes to screen. There's also standard error. All of those are can be redirected with Linux commands. So this larger than redirects the output of some command. For instance, output of ls into a file. ls into test dat. You now got a file, test dat. And we use cat to see what was in it. And it was an output of ls, which were the files that we had. Two larger than concatenates output of a command to the content of a file. And we could try do the same thing again, ls, and then concatenate to test that. When we now cat it, show what's in it, you can see there are simply two copies of it because it took what was in the file and added the same to it. Less than changes standard input to, so you can give something to standard input. And two larger than redirect standard error. For instance, there could be an error thrown from your command named my program to a file error.log, and that you could send to a file with two larger than. And two larger than &1 redirects both the standard output and the standard error to the same file, and you could do that. So you have a program that you run, and you send the output of it to log file, and you want both standard output and standard error. So let's make a few tests here. And well, I need a file, so I'm going to create one. Touch file, and I'm going to edit it. Just want some content. Let's save it. Yes. And now I have a file which has small number of content. And I say cat file. It would usually go to screen. I'm saying I want it instead to go to file 2. And let's see what was in it now. the same content that was in file. What if I want to append some new contents to a file called file2? Well, I could use echo, for instance. And you can use either quotes or these apostrophes or single quotes. I am adding some text and then to file2. Let's see how file2 looks. Now it has also, I'm adding some text to it. And you can also add text to a file with printf. So adding longer blocks of text to a file using the command line. And you can do that again with cat. And now we are just opening the file for writing instead of appending to it. So I'm saying cat, and I'm sending stuff to the file foo.txt. It's now open for writing, and I'm going to write some stuff. Hello, this is some content. I am adding content. It is cloudy outside. I am hungry. So now we are adding stuff to it. Fine. So now we want to save it, and we do that by holding down Control and pressing D. You now got a file foo.txt. See, it's here. We can use cat to see what is inside of it, and it is the stuff that we just added. Then we have the commands head and tail. Head will print the first lines of a file. We could say head -2 on the file foo text. It prints the two first lines. If you instead said tail -2 or 3 or whatever on foo.txt, it prints the last lines instead. So let's look again in the patterns directory and try it. You can try with myfile3.txt because that has some content. Or you can, if you created one text now, you can play with that. But again, head -3 myfile3 and tail -2. And you can also just see what was in it here. So you see, this is correct. Okay. So WC, word count, and sort. They are simple, but very useful. The word count command counts the number of lines, words, and characters in files, and it returns the values in that order from left to right. You can also ask it to only list lines, characters, or words. So I'm going to do this example here, and you should code along. Go into the Intro Linux exercises patterns directory that you got from the tarball. And then let's try and do word count on myfile1.txt. It's good if I can spell like this. And it tells us there are 4 lines, 15 words, and 80 characters. What if I do this on all text files? I can do that with wc word count star.txt. And then it lists all the files I have that are with the suffix .txt. and lines, words, and characters. It also sums the total. So let's try and only see the lines. Let's try do that on my file too. And it says there's 2 lines. And if you just say WC, then it will assume it should wait for input, and that's an error. So you can escape it with Control C. And that is often the case that you can escape with Control C. WC can also capture output. Assume you have a large number of files you want to run WC on. And if you then just throw it to screen, it's not very useful. It would be better if you got it to a file, and you can do it this way. So you run word count, you say the number of lines you want, and on the text files, so actually this output here, sorry, and it wasn't that much, so you don't actually need it in a file, but let's do that anyway. So let's say word count minus L, all the text files. And then we send it to file length.text. We now got a file called file length. It's here. And if you cut it, it looks like this. And the reason I have fewer files here is because I ran the remove on this file. Every file that matched that except number 8. That's why I have fewer than I had in this example. And if it was a very long list, maybe you wanted to use less instead, but I knew it was short, so I just said cat. Okay, so sorting. You use it for printing the output of a file in a given order. And -n, compare according to string numerical value, -f, ignore case, -b, ignore leading blanks. Those are the most useful options. There are more options. You can find them with man and sort. So let's look at the file numbers.txt, and please code along. It's in the same directory as before. And let's try and sort numbers.txt. First, I'm going to show you what's inside numbers.txt. It's simple numbers. So I'm sorting it. And as you can see, it's sorting like this here, but that might not be what you want. You maybe actually wanted it sorted alphanumerically and string numerically instead, and that's not what it did. So let's try and add -n, and then we get what we probably wanted, which is the regular way of sorting numbers. So it sorted, as you could see up here, alphanumerically, and now we got regular numerical sorting. What if we run sort on the output file length, which had more than one command? You can actually sort by the file lengths that you got before. So let's try to do that. And then let's sort the lines here by the numbers here, so you can see which of your files had the most lines this way, which is useful. And let's look at pipes. Pipes or redirection. That's also redirection. Pipes are used when you want to take output of one command and maybe use it as input for another command. And you can either say you are piping it, or you can say to pass output to another command. In many cases, you can do the same with an intermediate file or more, but it's better to just combine the commands with one or more pipes, usually at least. The pipe is symbolized by this vertical line between the commands. And it's a little bit different where it's located. On my keyboard, it's located in the lower left corner, but some will have it in the upper right corner beside the backspace. But in my case, it's just beside the left shift button. So try coding along for the 3 examples below. And again, we are using the files in the directory exercises patterns. So we have just counted the lines in all the files with extension .text. We put it to a file. That's instead piping or sending the output to sort -n so we can sort it directly. So WC word count the lines of the text files. We are piping it. I hold down Alt round and push the key beside the left shift, which is where the vertical line is on my keyboard. And I type sort -n. And then I got the same output that I got from from sorting the file, of course, which is what I expected. And we can also pipe it. I now use arrow up to get the same command again. And I could instead do tail -3. And I got different numbers because I have an extra file and I made some changes to it. Or we can combine several commands and sort it and then run head or tail or something on it. So let's go up to here again, word count lines on text files, sorting it. And then let's look at the 3 first line of the output. It looks like this. So you can combine various commands in this way. Exporting variables. Variables are useful. Environment variables. An example was $home. They store data that is used by the operating system and other programs. Some are intrinsic to the operating system, some for a specific program, library, or programming language. Some can be created by the user. Variables can be used in scripts and on the command line. Usually you reference them by putting a special symbol in front of or around a variable name. By convention, environment variable names are uppercase. So some typical examples here. $home was your home directory. $pwd variable points to your current directory. LD library path will contain a colon-separated list of directories that the dynamic linker should search for shared objects before searching any other directories. OMP num threads would be number of OMP threads. Python path, for instance, could be path to the directory where your Python libraries and packages are installed. These are just some examples of environment variables. If you want to see the content of an environment variable, then you do echo, like we did echo $home. You need to put the $sign there. If you type env, you will get a long list of all the environment variables that are currently set in your shell. And you can see them here. There's a lot of them. Some environment variables needs to be exported in order to be used. That is mainly the case if you are setting something yourself, but it could also be that you are setting the Python path to tell Python where your libraries are located. And you do it with export. The variable equals whatever value it has. And here you don't put the $sign. For CSH and related shells, it's set env variable and value. You can create your own variables to use in scripts. I think I mentioned it briefly under scripting. I don't remember if I took it out or if it's still there. Examples: set the number of OMP threads to 8. Export OMP num threads equals 8. If you add a new path, then you do it like this: export and then ld underscore library underscore path equal, and then what is already there. So in that case, you add the $, because now you should take what it points to, and then a colon, and then the custom path that you are adding. It is only set for the remainder of the session. When you open a new terminal window or log in again, you need to set it again. In order to avoid it, you must add it to .bashrc. That is a configuration file that is run each time you open a shell. And I can just open mine to show you how it looks. So this is my bash RC. And you can see there are a number of things in it. Here is an example of a path that is being set. So I'm going to exit. If you quickly add a new directory, for instance, to LD library path, you could do it with echo. And then this line here, that was the same as the one you used to set it temporarily. And then you concatenate it to your .bashrc file. It's called .bashrc and in your home directory. Be very careful what you add to it. You can break it so it's not working correctly. But if you just add something like this to the end of it, it's safe. Okay, I'm not going to go over the key points. It's just a list of what we just talked about. I'm going to move